हरे मुरारे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा हरे मुरारे
This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida. Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana. Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom. And Shiva Mandir Ashram of Leguan Island, Guyana.
वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। बाल कृष्ण भगवान की जय। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। गुरुर ब्रह्मा गुरुर विष्णु गुरुर्देव महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। तू ही ब्रह्मा तू ही विष्णु तू ही शंकर प्यारे। तू ही ब्रह्मा तू ही विष्णु तू ही शंकर प्यारे। तू ही शंकर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। जयति गुरुवर प्यारे। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। Devotees of Bhagavan, again this morning I want to extend a very special welcome to all of you who have joined us, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever other platforms being used. We're happy that we can be with you this morning on yet another auspicious day to join and to call upon Bhagavan as we seek his blessings for welfare and for protection, for inspiration to every devotee. Today happens to be Chhati. Chhati means 6, and today is the 6th day celebration. A few days ago we celebrated the birth, the coming, the advent of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and so it is not because today is the 6th day that we're mentioning that, but there's a special significance to the 6th day of the birth of a child. And that we will explain a little bit later, after we would have given our prayers to Ganapati Bhagavan. We'll chant special prayers this morning for every devotee listening and watching, and for their families in the same way that we chant Sankata Nashan, or we call it Sankata Mochan, the Hanuman Ashtak, prayers to Hanumanji. In the same way, Ganapati Bhagavan, Ganeshji, who is the remover of obstacles and impediments in the path of the devotee, preventing success, preventing spiritual growth. In the same way, Ganesh Bhagavan has what is called the Sankata Nashan. This is taken from the Narad Puran. It describes the glories and the blessings that can be had from one who prays to Ganesh Bhagavan sincerely. I think the lyrics will be up there. You can follow. It's a longish prayer. It'll take maybe 2-3 minutes at least. So group your voices together. If you cannot follow the words, just focus the mind on Ganesh Bhagavan. For he is created by Parvati Ma to be a protector. He protects the door in the lives of every devotee who seeks his protection, who chants his glories, who thinks of him. We pray to Ganapati Bhagavan. Sri Ganeshaya Namaha, Sri Saraswatayai Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Karacharan kritam va kakayajam karamajam va Sravananainajam va manasam va paradam Vihitam vihitam va sarvametakshmasva Jaya Jaya Karunabdhe Sri Mahadeva Shambho. Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalani Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Svaha Swadha Namostude. Lakshmi Karotu Kalyanam Arogyam Sukha Sampadam Mama Shatrum Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir Namostute. Surjadino Graha Devataya Namah. Sarvamangala-mangalaye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Sankatanashan Stotra. Pranamya Shirsa Devam Gauri Putram Vinayakam Bhaktavasam Smare Nityam Ayu Kamata Siddhaye Pratamam Vakratundam Cha Ekadantam Dvitiyakam Tritiyam Krishna Pingaksham गजवक्त्रं चतुर्थकं लम्बोदरं पंचमं च षष्ठं विकटमेव च सप्तमं विघ्नराजेन्द्र धूम्रवर्णं तथाष्टमं नवमं बालचन्द्रं च दशमं तु विनायकम् एकादशं गणपतिः द्वादशं तु गजाननं द्वादशैतानि नामानि त्रिसङ्ख्यं यपते नर न च विघ्नभयं तस्य सर्वमिदं करं परं विद्यार्थी लभते विद्यां धनार्थी लभते धनं पुत्रार्थी लभते पुत्रान् मोक्षार्थी लभते गतिं जपेन्द्र गणपतिस्तोत्रं शतभिर्वासैफलं लभेत् संवत्सरेण सिद्धं च लभते नात्र संशय अष्टभ्यो ब्राह्मणेभ्यश्च लिखित्वाय समर्पये तस्य विद्या भवेत् सर्वां गणेशस्य प्रसादत एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात् तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात् तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। गणपति भगवान की जय। And I will chant a verse from Bhagāwat Mahapuran, from the 10th canto, the 6th chapter, the 2nd verse. Namo Narayanaaya Namah. Bala Mukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kanhaiya Jai Gopala. बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला कंसेन प्रहिता घोरा पूतना बालघातिनी शिशुश्चार विगनन्ति पुनग्राम व्रजादिषु बालमुकुंद जय नंदलाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल बालमुकुंद जय नंदलाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया ओ बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल बाल कृष्ण भगवान की जय। Devotees of Bhagavan, this morning, like I said before, that we're celebrating a day that is very, very auspicious, and so today is called Chhati. I mentioned that before. And so this verse in Bhagāwat Mahapuran tells us that it was the 6th day since Bhagavan was born. Bhagavan Sri Krishna came into the world as a baby more than 5,000 years ago, and there was a huge celebration after the day of the coming of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, when he was taken from the prison where Vasudeva and Devaki, where Bhagavan was given birth, where he appeared by Pragata Kripala Deena Dayala Kausalya Hitakari. In the same way that he appeared to Kausalya, he appeared to Devaki, and then he took the form of Shishu, of a little baby. that baby, based on the instructions that Bhagavan got, that Nanda, that Devaki and Vasudeva got from God in his Chaturbhuj form, he gave them instructions what to do when he comes as a little baby. And so Vasudeva followed that instruction, and as soon as Bhagavan came as a baby, then all the prison doors were open, all the guards fell asleep, according to Bhagavad Puran, according to the Katha that we read last week. And that baby was taken across the Yamuna to a place called Gokul, where there was another little baby that was there, claimed to have been born. The instruction was to take it to the house of Nanda and Yashoda, this little boy baby, Krishna, and walk into that house. It was the same affair on the other side of the Yamuna, where the house was open, and Vasudeva walked straight into that house and put the little Krishna down on the bed where there was a little baby girl. This little baby girl was Yogmaya Shakti. Another name for Yogmaya Shakti is Durga. So many names, Chitta Shakti, Swarupa Shakti, etc. And Vasudeva brought that little baby back to Mathura, walked again into the cell. Everything was closed as though the same way it was before. And so this is how Kanhaiya, little Krishna, got to start living. The mother there, Yashoda Maya, didn't know anything. When she woke up, she saw her baby next to her, and her baby was a little boy. This baby boy was Krishna. And so they started celebrating. Back in Mathura, the news was given to Kans that the 8th child was born. Remember, the prophecy was that the 8th child would be Kansa's destruction. And so he came hurriedly. He grabbed that little baby in his arm and tried to destroy that little baby. We know the Katha well, and that little baby flew out of the hand of Kans, flew straight up into the air, and Kans could have seen, and everyone could have seen, this is a girl child with 4 arms. This was no other, like we said, than Durga, Yogmaya Shakti. And so that little baby said to Kans that the one who's to destroy you has already been born and is safe. That is no sense, no benefit to you to try to destroy me. That's just a little recap or continuation from where we left off last week. So now baby Krishna is in Gokul, and it's the 6th day of his birth. Now at that time, the people of Braj, they had to pay taxes into Mathura to Kans. And the foster father, Nanda Baba, went off to pay his taxes, and he was returning. So while he was returning, according to this verse that we read, at that same time that he was returning, there was someone else in that city. There was someone else in Gokul. And this entity, this person that was there, was by the name of Putana. Now many of us heard that name growing up. We heard that Putana was a demon, and so according to Bhagavad Mahapuran, this was Putana, and she had come now to Gokul because of an instruction from Kans, because he doesn't know where this little baby is. So he gave a radius to destroy all the little babies born in the last 24 hours, so that no small child who's been born would survive to destroy him. So he sent Putana, who was a demon, to cleverly try to destroy the children in Gokul. So Putana was there, and she was walking through the towns and the cities and the villages, and she was performing her very evil deeds, her evil duties. Now at that point in time, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, like I said, it was Chhati. Chhati literally means a number in Sanskrit, or Shashti or Chhati means 6, right? So it was the 6th day since Bhagavan has been born. Happy little child playing, but there's someone there, danger is lurking in his neighborhood because now Putana is there to destroy him. Now just a brief little information as to why Chhati is important here. A couple of reasons. One, when a baby is born, Hindus generally we celebrate two occasions. We celebrate Chhati, which is the 6th day, and we celebrate what is called Badhe or Badhau. Badhau literally means 12. So Hindus celebrate the 6th day and they celebrate the 12th day of the child's birth. Now, we have heard of that. Many people are still celebrating these days. Different parts of the world, it's different. For example, in India, it is still heavily celebrated on the 6th day, especially in Gujarat and the northern side of India. In the West Indies, it is 6th day is still celebrated in Trinidad, for sure, maybe some other countries. In Guyana, we celebrate 9 days, and I've tried to do some investigation as to how we ended up at 9, and I'm not so sure. If you were to ask me the question, I'm not sure. Maybe we took 6 and 9 and came right in the middle and said 6 and 12 and came right in the middle, said we'll celebrate 9 days. However, on the 6th day, many people in the world, they perform puja, they do different things with the baby. The mother, takes a bath, the baby, a little diya is lit in the house. The diya represents proper sight for the baby, bringing light into the baby's life, etc. Sometimes the baby is taken outside on the 6th day, but not always. The baby is taken outside on the 12th day. And so during this time, this Chhati and Badhau, they're done for different reasons. Now, today, unfortunately, people consider these things superstition, and they consider them as tradition at best. And they're not necessarily superstition, because if we were to leave the scriptures out completely, if we were to leave the Shastras out, and when a child is born in a house, it is known to everyone that there's an unclean period, and the mother to an extent is unclean because she's just given birth to a child. And so for this reason, the mother doesn't go in public. It is said that, you should not pray, you should not go to the temple, all these things. The reason for that is because, this is our own quarantine. The same way we experience quarantine now because of COVID-19, the scriptures have a quarantine for certain occasions. And the scriptures recommend mothers to be quarantined when they give birth to a child because of the uncleanliness that surrounds that mother. On top of that, having given birth to a child, a mother is very weak, and she's very tired, and she's wrecked, and she needs to recuperate. And so she needs a few days. It takes a mother about 10 days to recuperate fully, and for the cleanliness period the uncleanliness period to expire. And so even the baby, when a little baby is there, the little baby is so small, just came into the world, not accustomed to how things work here, and the baby is now very, very susceptible to diseases, etc. If someone goes there and holds that baby with dirty hands and things like that, any kind of coughing or sneezing or any kind of bacteria on the hand, you hold the baby, the child very, very easily will contract that disease and become sick. Why? Because the resistance is not very strong. So for a combination of reasons, the mother being unclean, the mother's is weak and she's tired and she needs rest. The baby is susceptible to diseases and try to not come in contact with people. For these reasons, it is recommended that the mother nor the child go into public for a certain period of time. And this is the quarantine that has been put into place by the scriptures. This period of time is called Sutak. Sutak means unclean. We heard these words, sutak, patak, chut. Chut means the same thing. We say that when someone passes away. We're not talking about that today. That's a very similar situation. But we're talking about the birth of a child. And so the period is sutak. And so the surrounding is unclean. The baby is susceptible to diseases. The mother is weak. And so they're not going to go to the temple. Why? Because in the temple, there are many people there. They don't want to go in contact with people because of the aforementioned reasons. Even when a little baby is born, let's say, for example, a child is born, a little bit before the due date, you call it a premature baby, you go to, I think they call this NICU, NICU, or something like that in the hospital, and you have to see the kind of care that baby goes through. Nobody is allowed to visit. If you visit, you can't touch a child. The child is in a little, very secured little machinery thing there. I don't know what it's called, but mothers know. Extreme, very diligent, and very circumspect care is taken of that baby. Why? Because the baby is not fully developed and is very susceptible to diseases. So that baby goes through a little quarantine period in itself. So other people, they do puja. There's a form of a goddess that is worshipped. In India, it's called Shashti Devi. Shashti Devi is, Shashti means 6, right? So Shashti Devi is the spouse of Bhagavan Kartikeya, right? We know Kartikeya. Shankar Bhagavan and Parvati Mata, they have 2 sons, Ganeshji and Kartikeya. So Shashti Devi is said to be the goddess that protects babies, newborn babies, and the mothers, etc. So people do puja to Shashti Devi on the 6th day. And those who don't, they light a diya and they do something auspicious. But then there would also be 12th day, right? Badhao. We're not going to go into details about this. But Badhao is when the cleanliness has returned to the surroundings. The baby's immune system is now stronger. The mother has recuperated. And even the scripturally prescribed time of 10 days is finished. And now, like for example, when our children were born, we did a Namkaran Sanskar. Namkaran Sanskar can be done on the 11th or the 12th day. Namkaran Sanskar means the naming ceremony of the child. That is one of the sanskars, the 16 sanskars that a person goes through in life. Like one is Upnayan, the Janaya, one is wedding, Vivah Samskar, etc. One is Namkaran Sanskar. So a Namkaran Sanskar is done on the 11th and 12th day because there's no risk to the child and to the mother. This day is called Badhao. Badhao is still celebrated heavily in different parts of India and different parts of the world. Nanda Baba celebrated what is called Nanda Utsav. This is the very day after, but not in contact with the baby and the mother. He shared gift and had a big celebration, etc. But in Badhao, everybody can join together and celebrate, in a very pious way, in a sattvic way. We should celebrate when a baby is born in our homes. So that is what we do for Badhao. We do Namkaran Sanskar, or you just do a celebration with friends and family. So this is a very brief explanation or piece of information that is given as to why 6 days is very special, why we're celebrating the 6th day, which is called Chhati. And so now, it was the 6th day of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He's a happy baby, but there's a demon walking around in Gokul, and this demon is coming to kill Bhagavan. The difference with this demon is that even though she was dressed up so beautifully, she wasn't dressed like a demon. She was dressed so beautifully and was carrying a lotus flower in her hand that even the gopis who loved Sri Krishna so much, they thought that this was Mahalakshmi. Demons have this power to change their form and to look like the most beautiful human being. So Putana was walking around, approaching the home of Bhagavan Sri Krishna now, and she looked extremely beautiful, and calm, and composed, and divine, carrying a lotus flower, etc., that even the gopis thought she was Mahalakshmi. The difference was that this very beautiful Lakshmi-like individual that is approaching the home of Bhagavan Sri Krishna had the most potent, the most powerful type of poison besmeared on her breast. And this is how she was planning to destroy Sri Krishna. And so she has now approached. She's now approached the home of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and we'll see what happens as she approaches the home of Sri Krishna. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Radhe Govinda. Nayatra Sravanadini Rakshograni Swakarmasu Kurvanti Satvatam Bhartu Yatu Danasya Tatra Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda. Bala Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. So yatra shravanaditi rakshognani swakarmashu. That here it says that this, in the other verse, the following verse in Bhagavad Mahapuran, it says that this demon, Putana, was visiting different homes in Gokul, but she was choosing the homes where the spiritual atmosphere was very limited. What does that mean? It means that the people who are celebrating, who are performing their daily spiritual duties, those people create a stronger ring of protection around their homes from anything that is evil and anything that is harmful. For example, Shravana Adini means hearing and chanting. Remember, so many times we talk about Shravan Bhakti, listening to God's words. Shravan, Kirtan, chanting God's names. Raksha Gnanini, that a protection, a form of protection is created by this attitude through the sound vibrations. You know, when we chant mantras and stotras, it creates sound waves. Those sound waves, as long as they are glorifications of God, they create sound waves that forms protection and destroys danger of every kind, destroys bad elements of every kind from the lives of those devotees. So it is said here, according to this verse, that people who perform their, it is called their occupational duties, their spiritual duties, their devotional service, whether by chanting, whether by listening, that dangerous elements cannot come their way. And so the devotees in Gokul, the people in Gokul, had no reason to, go through anxiety, to be fearful, because Putana was now around, because their spirituality is protecting them. And so this is why Putana went to the homes of non-devotees first. So the question might be asked that how is it that we should protect ourselves spiritually, protect our families and things like that? Well, one very easy way to do it is to perform something called a Pach Mahayagya. Pach Mahayagya is the 5 daily duties of a human being. And very quickly what these duties are, first one is called Deva Yajna. And Deva Yajna simply means, doing your prayers and doing your meditation, whatever else you do spiritually at home. You do your sadhana, this is Deva Yajna. And so secondly, the second one is called Brahma Yajna. And Brahma Yajna is actually loudly chanting the scriptures. Actually teaching the scriptures, having people coming to your home and teaching them the scriptures, or if even you have to go to their homes to teach them the scripture. This is Brahma Yajna, spreading the knowledge of the scriptures and chanting the scriptures every day. Now this doesn't mean all the scriptures you have to chant, but you can pick a piece that you like most, and you can do that. The third is called Pitri Yajna. Now there's a particular way that Pitri Yajna is practiced amongst Hindus, but that's only done in Pitri Paksh and things like that. But Pitri Yajna is something we should do every day. And how do we do that? We reflect on our heritage. We reflect on our parents and the messages, and our grandparents, the good messages that they have left us. We preserve our heritage. We preserve the values and the teachings of our ancestors and the saints of the world. We try to put their teachings into our personal lives. This is called Pitri Yajna on a daily basis. The fourth is called Bhuta Yajna. And Bhut here doesn't mean what you're thinking, is not, evil. Bhut here means every living entity. So when it says every living entity, what we mean is that we have to create a spirit of sharing. Not only amongst human beings, but create a spirit of sharing amongst human beings and the lower classes of animals. There's a beautiful Ved mantra that says, Anapate anasya no dehyamani vashmashushminah prapadataram tarish dehi urjano dehi dvipade chatushpade. Dvipade means 2. Chatushpade, chatuhu means 4. Pade means feet. We have to, according to Bhuta Yajna, and the last one, the fifth one, Manusya Yajna, that we have to serve not only humanity, but also the lower classes of animals. This is Bhuta Yajna. Create a spirit of sharing, and also amongst all other living beings. And the fifth one, Manusya Yajna, means to do seva, to serve humanity. Sometimes we hear it is called Atithi Yajna. Atithi Devo Bhava, we remember that from the Ved, that the visitor should be treated like a celestial being. And so this is Manusya Yajna, Atithi Yajna, serving humanity in every way. So coming back to the Katha, and the reason why we're reading Katha today, just in case you're wondering, is because we're celebrating Chhati, and this Putana Katha happened on Chhati, on the 6th day of the birth of Sri Krishna. Now, we would get to find out how Sri Krishna handled it. But as regular human beings, we may not necessarily have his power. So that's when the mother protects us and things like that from the environment and everything that is harmful. So, Putana is approaching and Bhagavan sees her. Little Kandhaya. He's on his swing, having a great time, and he senses that Putana is coming. Because he's Bhagavan. Many times in his life he has used Yog Maya Shakti to forget that he's Bhagavan. But that's a different thing. Right now Putana is coming and he senses that Putana is here. So Putana came and greeted everyone, and like everyone else, she came to see the baby. Like a new baby is born in the house, all the neighbors come, the family come at some point in time. People never stop coming in to see the little baby, to give gifts, etc. So Putana came, she spoke to everyone, she says, I'm here to see the little baby. And so remember, she has Kal Kut in her breast. And Bhagavan is watching her. She has approached this little, very cute, very beautiful little baby, and she picks the little baby up. This was the perfect opportunity now for Putana to give Bhagavan the poison to drink and to destroy him completely. Bhagavan, being Antaryami, he knows what is going on. So Bhagavan, at this point in time, as Putana is giving him, is trying to suckle the baby, trying to give him, the poisoned breast to drink milk from, Bhagavan realizes what is happening and he closes his eyes. Now, many interpretations here is that Bhagavan got very scared, and that's why he closed his eyes. But there are 6 saints, Kripaluji Maharaj and the other Rasik saints, they say that Bhagavan didn't close his eyes because he was afraid. He closed his eyes for a completely different reason. What was that reason? Bhagavan closed his eyes and he called upon Bhagavan Shankar. At that point in time, knowing that there is poison on the breast of Putana, you see, he knows a person. Sometimes we're in some kind of situation and we always know a guy, or you call a guy to fix a thing in the house, or you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. Well, Bhagavan also knew a person, and he knew Bhagavan Shankar, Lord Shiva. And so he didn't have to text Bhagavan Shankar, he didn't have to call him on the phone. In today's language, we call it telepathy. Bhagavan closed his eyes and he called on Bhagavan Shankar. Hey Shankar, Aiye bhai, I have something for you. Why is he calling Shankar Bhagavan? Because he knows Shankar Bhagavan likes what? He likes poison. He's the one who took all the hal kut. You remember that? From the churning of the ocean? It is for that reason that Bhagavan has a very special name. Shankar Bhagavan, he has a very special name. This is the name. Nilakantha Mahadeva Dayalu, Nilakantha Mahadeva Dayalu, Jai Bholenath, Jai Mahadeva, Jai Bholenath, Jai Mahadeva, Jai Shiva Shankar, Jai Abhinashi, Nilakantha Mahadeva Dayalu, Nilakantha Mahadeva Dayalu, Jai Bholenath, Jai Mahadeva, Jai Shiva Shankar, Jai Avinashi. Kanhaya called Nilakant. Nilakant means the blue throat one? Because he took the poison from the halahal, from the churning of the ocean. He got that name Neelakant, meaning blue throat, Mahadeva. So Kanhaiya called on his friend Shankar Bhagwan. Remember we said last week, Bhagavad Gita reminds us there is no difference between Kanhaiya and Bhagwan Shankar. And he says, look, you like poison and I like milk. So we have a fair deal here. But come on, Bhagwan Shankar appeared immediately, right? Why did Bhagwan Shankar appear? Because there is some prasad for him here. There is poison. Bhagwan is taking the poison. Shankar Bhagwan is now taking the poison. Unbeknownst to Putna, she's a Rakshas. She cannot conceptualize Bhagwan. And so Shankar Bhagwan is taking the poison. Kanhaiya is only choosing the milk. Why? Because he loves milk. Remember one of his names? One of his names is what? Makhan Chod, right? He steals makhan. Makhan is what? Is made from milk. You know butter, when you take the milk and we make butter out of it? Some of us, we call it dahi, we call it all kinds of things, but it's makhan. And this is what Kanhaiya likes the most. Kanhaiya has gotten into trouble so many times for stealing makhan. You know, there was absolutely no need for this little baby boy to steal makhan. Why? Because his father, Nanda Baba, you know how many cows Nanda Baba had? 9 lakhs of cows. 900,000 cows was owned by his father. Can you imagine the amount of makhan that would be in that house on a daily basis? But Kanhaiya is going to everybody else's houses, the gopis, and he's stealing makhan. Why? Not because he was hungry, not because he couldn't, that makhan was not available to him. He was doing that because this is what the gopis love. They would put the makhan there to attract Kanhaiya to come to their house, to hide in a corner and watch him steal and eat and enjoy himself. Not only that, they would also try to catch him when he steals the makhan and take him to Yashoda Didi and complain to Yashoda Didi, not because they hate him, not because they don't want him to come, but because this is all a Leela. They want to spend maximum amount of time with Kanhaiya. And so when he steals the butter and he has the makhan all around his mouth and on his hands, they will come out and catch him and they will take him to Maya, take him to Yashoda Maya. Didi, aye, look, Kanhaiya, again he has stolen makhan from our pot. This is where Suradas, the saint, has put it very, very beautifully as to how Kanhaiya will handle such a situation. Kanhaiya handled this situation in almost a very similar way on every occasion. He goes in front of Maya, and it's a very, very popular song that we all know. This is like a Leela within a Leela, right? A little, you know what a Leela is? A divine pastime within a divine pastime. And so Kanhaiya is now facing Yashoda Maya. And Maya would ask him, did you steal the butter? Hey Kanwa, did you steal Didi's butter from the other house? And what Kanhaiya would do, he would think of a strategy. And so what he decided to do was to play on the emotions of his mother, because he's a little child. And every mother's got a really soft spot in their heart for the little baby. So Kanhaiya would look at Maya in her eyes, and this is what he would say. Maya Mori, oh, Mai nahi makhan khayo. Hey Maya, Mai nahi makhan khayo. I did not steal any butter. In the meantime, his hands and around his mouth is full of makhan. But he keeps saying to mother, I did not steal anything. This is how he keeps saying it. Maya Mori, oh, मैं नहीं माखन खायो, कहत सुनत में आकर काहे, कहत सुनत के आकर काहे, झूठा दोष लगायो रे मैया मोरी, मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैया मोरी, ओ मैं नहीं माखन खायो। हे मैया कहत सुनत में आकर काहे। Then why get misled by these complaints that jhuta dosh lagayo, that all these things that are being said about me, they're only lies. None of it is true. And he'll start convincing his mother that he didn't steal any butter, that everybody is lying on him. And he'll look at Maya straight in her face and tell her that. Kanhaiya is now using emotions to see if he can convince Maya so that he can get out of trouble. This is what he says. Yamuna ke tat par बाल ग्वाल संग चार पहर मैं खेला, गैया चरावत बंसी बजावत, भई सांझ के बेला, भूख लगी तो दौड़त दौड़त, भूख लगी तो दौड़त दौड़त, भूख लगी तो दौड़त दौड़त, सीधा मैं घर आयो रे मैया मोरी, मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैया मोरी, ओ मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैया मोरी, ओ मैं नहीं माखन खायो। Say, Kanhaiya, this is what he's saying to his mother, that Maya Yamuna ke tat par ग्वाल बाल संग चार पहाड़ में खेला. That Maya, you know, when I take the cows, I take them to Yamuna Tatpar, on the banks of the Yamuna, and there I play with my friends, the Gwal and the Bals. Gwal Bal Sang, I enjoy their company all day. All day meaning char pahar mai khela. Char pahar means, pahar means a period of 3 hours. So char pahar here would mean 12 hours. When Shivratri is here, we say Ashta Pahar means 8 pahars. 8 3 is 24. So char pahar means Kanhaiya is saying to Maya that look, for 12 hours I take the cows, I graze them by the Yamuna. Maya charavat bansi bajavat. What do I do there, Maya? I graze the cows. I do nothing else. Bai sanj ki bela. That I blow my flute, I enjoy myself, and when it's dusk, what happens? Bhook lagi to daurat daurat. That when I get hungry, Maya, bhook lagi to daurat daurat, that I start running. Where do I run to? Not to the neighbor's house, Maya, not to the house of the gopis. Seedha mein ghar aaye. Straight home I come. Maya, हे मैया मोरी, मैं नहीं माखन खायो. So Kanhaiya is now making a case. He's making a case to his mother Now look, I graze the cow all day, I play with my friends, I blow my basuri, and whenever I get hungry, I come straight home. That Maya Modi, oh, मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैया मोरी ओ मैं नहीं माखन खायो. So Kanhaiya used some emotion, but Maya is not ready to budge. You know, Yashoda Maya is thinking, is he telling the truth? And so when that seems not to have worked totally, Kanhaiya moves on to another strategy. And this strategy now is to use principles and logic. Kanhaiya is now using on Yashoda Maya. This is what he says. मैं तो बाबा नंद के लाला काहे चार खाओ. मैं तो बाबा नंद के लाला काहे चोर कहाओ. अपने घर में कौन कमी जो बाहर माखन खाओ. बात सुनी तो माता यशोदा हंस कर कंठ लगायो. फिर बोली तू नहीं माखन खायो. रे कृष्णा मोरे मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैया मोरी ओ मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैया मोरी ओ मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैं नहीं माखन खायो मैं नहीं माखन खायो. Kanhaiya Lal ki jai. So Kanhaiya has now used principles and logic on his mother. This is what he says. Mai to Baba Nanda Kilala. He said, Maya, listen. I am the son of Nanda Baba. Nanda Baba is the king, is the chief of this village. Now, do you think I'll be so disrespectful to my father's very respectable position in this village, and I'll go and do something so disrespectful? To bring disrepute, to bring embarrassment to my father? Maito Baba Nanda Kilala. And plus, my father loves me so much, he'll be so disappointed if he hears that I've done something. Kahe chor kahau. How come? Knowing all this, Maya, how can you call me a thief? Apne ghar mein kaun kamijo bahar makhan khao. That apne ghar mein, that why will I eat butter outside? You remember? Nanda Baba had 900,000 cows. So now he's using logic. Maya, explain to me, why would I go and steal butter outside when there's no shortage of butter in this house? This whole house is full with makhan. Jo bahar makhan khayo, why will I go outside and steal? That Maya, baat sunito mata yashura. So Kanhaiya has used emotions, he has used logic, he has used principles, he has done everything. In the last line of the bhajan, Maya is now speaking, listening to a little Kanhaiya. Baat suni to mata Yashoda. And now Yashoda is speaking. What did she say? Has kar kantha lagayo. She gave Kanhaiya a big, sweet, very firm hug. Why did she do that? Fir boli तुम नहीं माखन खायो, रे कृष्णा मोरे तू नहीं माखन खायो. Yashoda Maya is now convinced that our Kanhaiya didn't steal any butter. Kanhaiya has done his job. He's successful once more. Firaboli, Yashoda Maya says, Tu nahi makan khayo. I know, you didn't steal any butter. They're telling lies on you. I know it is, hey Krishna, Tu nahi makan khayo. So, this is a little Leela within a Leela to help us understand or be reminded that Kanhaiya loved milk. He wants nothing to do with poison, so he called Bhagwan Shankar. Bhagwan Shankar took the poison, and what did Kanhaiya do? He sucked the life out of Putana. He did not only suck the milk, but he sucked the very life out of Putana. When the milk was dried up, the poison was gone, the milk was dried up from her breast, Kanhaiya kept on sucking. And she tried to brush him off to get rid of the baby, but Kanhaiya was holding on really strong, knowing that this is a demon, knowing what she came to do, knowing what she's done to other babies and what she plans to do to other babies. Kanhaiya held on with his mouth, and Putana could not have gone anywhere. When she could not get rid of Kanhaiya with her regular form, she reverted to being a demon again. She started growing. Bigger and bigger and bigger in size. This is a power that Rakshas have. Kanhaiya held on, and he's sucking and sucking and sucking the life out of her as she grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, the life was sucked out of Putana and she fell to the ground. According to Bhagavad Mahapuran, in the 14th verse of this same chapter, the 10th canto, the 35th chapter, that when Putana fell, she grew for miles and miles, according to Bhagavad Mahapuran, because she had this Rakshas power to grow as big as she wanted. But then life was gone and she fell to the ground. She felt like a log. She was able to break a considerable amount of a piece of the forest when she fell and broke all the trees there. So Putana is now lying on the ground. Kanhaiya is still sitting on her chest. Little Kanhaiya, same size. Nanda Baba had gotten back home and understand what's happening, and all the Brajvasis, all the people from Gokul, they started running to find Kanhaiya. They ran there. When they got to almost the head of Putana, they saw Kanhaiya, very happy. He's playing on the chest of Putana, no problem at all. Putana is dead. And so they decided that since Kanhaiya has destroyed his demon, that they should give her a respectable send-off. And so they decided to make a pyre and to send her away in a cremation. But something happened when they stacked wood on top of her body. For miles and miles, the broken forest, they stacked it there, and they're trying to burn the body of Putana. Then this happened, according to Bhagavad Mahapuran. Bhajugiri dhar Govinda Gopala, Bhajugiri dhar Govinda Gopala, Bhajumurli Manohar Nandlala, Bhajumurli Manohar Nandlala, Bhajugiri dhar Govinda Gopala, Bhajugiri dhar Govinda Gopala. Putana Lokagni Rakshasi Rudirashana Jigansayani Harshe Stanam Datva Pasargatim Giridhar Govinda Gopala, Bhajugiridhar Govinda Gopala, Bhajumurli Manohar Nandlala, Bhajumurli Manohar Nandlala, Bhajugiridhar Govinda Gopala, Gopala. While you're trying to burn the body of Putana, from the body of this Rakshas, a very sweet, very pleasant, very spiritual scent started coming out. The body started smelling really sweet. The body of a Rakshas, even regular human beings, they don't smell sweet unless you put some kind of kesar or some kind of thing there to smell. Why did this happen? The verse said Sargatim. Sargatim means the highest abode that a person can attain after leaving the body, meaning God's permanent abode. The verse says Priyatam. Priyatam means the dearmost, the one you love the most, right? You love someone or something the most. And so Putana was considered by Bhagavan Sri Krishna as Priyatam. Priyatam means someone he has given the highest abode to because he loves her very much. Why did this happen? Because Kanhaiya, even though Putana was hankering for blood of human children, and she came with the intention of killing Bhagavan, what God realized, what Kanhaiya realized, and what he recognized was the selfless act of trying to treat him like a little baby and breastfeed him. So amongst all the things that Putana tried to do to Bhagavan, Bhagavan recognized the motherly act in Putana. And because he chose to recognize only the motherly act in Putana, he gave her his highest abode. The greatest achievement of a human being is to attain God's abode. And this is what Putana achieved. Why? Because Kanhaiya only recognized that she was willing. One little part of her was that she was willing to treat him like a child. The same thing, there's a similar katha in when Bhagavan Sri Ram killed Ravan. Bhagavan Ram he did tapasya. Why did he do tapasya for killing a demon? Because he told Lakshman, he said, Lakshman, so many things about Ravan was bad. His 10 heads, they represent 10 different things. One of those heads represent bhakti. One of those heads represents spirituality and his love for God. And because of that, there was a part of Ravan that was a devotee, and that is why I'm doing tapasya. I've killed a devotee, at least in a little way. Some percentage of him was a devotee. In the same way, Krishna has recognized the selflessness in Putana to breastfeed him. So the bhajan says, Hau manat hau bhavahin hau Paisun khari khari rasya Paisun khari khari rasya. That even though Putana had applied poison to her breast to destroy Kanhaiya, even though that happened, she got his highest abode. So what is to be said for those of us who do natural devotion to Bhagavan? Don't try to kill him, but do devotion. Every little act of devotion that we have, if even it's not physical, if even it's mental, in the mind, Bhagavan would recognize it. And so this is why Putana got his highest abode. Because Kanhaiya says that this devotee is this is a mother to me. She has given me, she's breastfed me. And so this is one of the verses, and there's a beautiful verse in another katha, 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, verse 23 of Bhagāwat Mahapurana. And there's a verse that every Hindu needs to know. Everyone who's practicing bhakti says, Aho vakiyam stanakalakutam jighasaya payaradapsya sadhi lebhe gatim dhatruchitam tatonyam kingva dayalum sharanam brajema. This is the katha of Sukadeva. When he was already 12 years old and he left home, came out of the mother and ran away because he did not want to be caught up in Maya. This is another katha. But he refused to come back to his parents, and until some people went to him and chanting mantras. When they chanted this mantra in his ear, Sukadeva said, he got out of his meditation. He was in samadhi. And he says, where did you get that mantra from? How do you know this slok? Who taught you? And so the attendants had to tell him that this was taught to us by your father. My father? Who's my father? Sage, the Ved Vyasji is my father. And I said, oh, so Shukadeva has now decided to go to see who this person is, Ved Vyasji, because this is one of the sweetest mantras, slokas in Bhagavad Mahaprabhu, and it describes the mercy of Bhagavan when he gives his highest abode to someone who has come to kill him, only because he recognized a small portion of that act was selfless and was that of a mother to him. Because of the power of this shloka, Shukadeva decided to come back to Ved Vyasa, and as you know, Shukadeva then narrated the entire Bhagavad Mahapuran. So we'll make one more point before we bring our katha to an end today, and that is that how did a Rakshas get this opportunity to breastfeed Bhagavan? She never prayed to him one day in his life, in her life. She never did any puja, never did any sadhana, never did any meditation. She's a Rakshas. So how is it she got such an opportunity? And those of us, we pray every day, we do our sadhana, all these things, and we're not seeing any opportunity like that. We're not getting to see Bhagavan, we're not getting to hug Bhagavan, to touch him, anything. The reason for that, I'll explain before we close. Many of us know the katha of Raja Bali, right? Raja Bali, this was the grandson. Raja Bali being the grandson of Prahalad, and he was very, very powerful. But he was also a demon. He defeated all the devatas. You know, all the devatas in the heavenly regions, not God, the devatas, the celestial beings. He defeated them and he took over the throne. He took over the throne of Indra. You know Indra, the Lord of Rain? He took it over. But this was going to be short-lived, and so his guru, Sukracharya, said to Raja Bali, look, if you want to be in charge of heaven, you have to do this the right way, that this is not the correct way. This will be short-lived, and you will lose it after a very short period of time. If you want to own it forever, then take my advice, do the right thing, and you can own it further. Raja Bali says, okay, what is it? Then Sukracharya, the guru of Raja Bali, he says to him that you have to do 100 yajnas. 100 Ashwamedha yajnas. Ashwamedha yajna was done, you know, in Ramayana by Bhagavan Sri Rama, Lakshman, etc. We know that katha. So Raja Bali decided to do 100 Ashwamedha yajna to prove to the world that you're undefeatable. No one in the world can defeat you, so now you can take over heaven. So Raja Bali conducted all these yajnas. He was on number 99. He completed number 99. One more is left. And when he finishes this one, then he can take over the heavenly regions permanently. When he was conducting the 100th yajna, the havan, the sacrifice, we know the katha, but I'll say it in brief. That is when Bhagavan came as Vaman. You know Vaman? Vaman avatar, a little Brahmin avatar, you know, not very tall. Bhagavan recognized what would happen, so he's come to keep order in the world. So Bhagavan has appeared as Vaman. Vaman is one of the 10 incarnations or descensions of God. Because he knows that one thing that was known about Raja Bali was that he was a Mahadani. He gave anything to anyone who needed it, who would ask for it especially. So Vaman Bhagavan shows up by the Yajna Sthal, by the place where the Havan is going on, and he says, oh, I'm here to ask for some dan, for some dakshina, for some alms. Raja Bali could not resist when someone is asking for something. This was in his nature, that he has to give. And so when he saw Vaman Bhagavan thinking that this is an ascetic, this is a person who needs help, he says to his guru, let me go help him. Sukracharya warned him, do not get up from here. If not, you'll be sorry. Everything will be destroyed. Complete this one more yajna before you get up. Raja Bali did not listen because he cannot resist giving alms to people. He approached the Brahmin, says, what is it you want? How can I help you? Vaman Bhagavan showed up as a Brahman, as an ascetic, as a person who needs alms. How can I help you? Vaman says, I don't want much. I just want 3 steps of land. Because I have nothing, I want somewhere that I can sit and rest. Oh, 3 steps of land? That's all you want? Have you not heard of me, Raja Bali, that I give anything to anyone? Ask for acres and hectares of lands, I'll give it to you. No, I want 3 steps of land. Okay, measure 3 steps and take it anywhere you want. Vaman Bhagavan made the first step. And the first step, Vaman Bhagavan started growing. And he covered the heavens. He is now covering the heavens. Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, Tapa, Jana, Maha, Satyalok. All 7 heavens are now covered. Bali is watching. While growing, because he has grown so huge, then Bhagavan's toe, his toenail now has reached the heavens. This is where Brahmaji was in Satyalok and saw the toenail and recognized that this is the toenail of my Bhagavan. And he says, I have to take the opportunity to wash the feet of Bhagavan. This is when he took his kamandal and he washed the feet of Bhagavan. This is the water that became the Mandakini. This is the water that is used, when we chant the mantra, Mandakini salila chandana charchitaya, Nandishwara pramathanata maheshwaraya, Mandara pushpa bahu pushpa supujitaya, Tasmai makaraya namah shivaya. When we chant this prayer to Bhagavan Shankar in the Panchakshar Stotra, Mandakini, that water from the Mandakini is used to worship Bhagavan Shankar. It has come from the toe of Bhagavan, washed by Brahmaji. So now, Vaman Bhagavan is making his second step. And upon making his second step, all the lower regions are now gone, the lower worlds. We mentioned him last week. Attal, Bittal, Suttal, Rasatal, Talatal, Mahatal, Patal, they're all gone. So now the upper regions are gone, of the 14 regions, and the lower regions are gone. Bhagavan has taken up everything that is in existence with 2 steps. And so now he's asking Bali, where should I put my 3rd step? Bali, being a Mahadani, he did not give up. He would not promise and don't deliver. He says, Bhagavan, Sirpar, put the 3rd step on my head. And so Bhagavan took his feet, put it on Raja Bali's head, and Bali was destroyed completely. While this was happening, here's the reason why Putana was able to have the opportunity to worship Bhagavan, to breastfeed him. Someone was watching when all of this was happening. Who was watching? Raja Bali had a daughter. Her name was Ratnamala. And she was not a part of the yajna, she was watching from a distance what's happening. And when she saw Vaman appear, and he's such a cute, he's so little, he's so short, he looks like, in his arms, he looks so innocent, someone that attracts you, and you see someone and they look very attractive, like I wish that was my little brother, I wish that was my little sister or some relative, etc., etc. Vaman Bhagavan looked like this to Ratnamala. And she said, in her mind that, you know, I'd love to have a baby like this. I'd love to breastfeed someone like this. This emotion came over her, Ratnamala, when she saw this little baby, and she wished that this was her baby, that she'll breastfeed him. Remember, Bhagavan is Antaryami. He knows everything. This is why in this country, we say, be careful what you wish for. I've heard that for the first time when I came to this country, but it makes so much sense. Be careful what you wish for. Why? Because Bhagavan heard the wish that was made in the mind of Ratnamala. And he said to her in his response, quietly, when I come in Dwapar, I will fulfill your wish. Bhagavan doesn't turn down the wish and the desires of anyone as long as there's a sattvic wish, a dharmic wish. Everyone gets through at some point in time. So he couldn't do it this time because she was still a Rakshas. He says, when I come in Dwapar Yuga, meaning when I come again, as Krishna, I will fulfill your wish. This is why Putana was able to have the opportunity to breastfeed. This is a promise that Putana got from Bhagavan in her past life. So this is why as Hindus we say over and over and over in this program like a broken record that worship is done with the mind. All the things you do with your hands, they're fine, but they start from the mind. And then you can do them with the hands and feet and eyes and ears. But if you do them with the mind, you don't necessarily have to do them with the senses. You can do both, that's fine, but the more important of the two is with the mind. Why? Ved says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mana eva, mind alone. Manushyanam, when it comes to mankind, this is Brahma Bindu Upanishad, the second verse, that the mind alone, karanam bandha mokshayo, will determine whether you enjoy freedom in life or you're totally bound. Whether you'll only have bondage in your life or you'll become free in this life and beyond. The mind alone, mana eva, the mind alone will decide that. So these are not my words, Bhaiya. This is from the scriptures. Let us take it from the scripture and start worshipping. That is why in this program we try to do meditation, we try to worship with the mind. We do Manas Puja for the whole Shravan Mass, etc. You know, we've heard this many times. What you think you become. What you feel you attract. What you imagine you create. This is said by Buddha, Gautam Buddha. And so there are many versions of this. We've heard of another version of it from, the Buddha and Lao Tzu and even Emerson. They have some version of this, that watch your thoughts and they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions and they become habits. And watch your habits, they become character. And watch your character, it becomes what? Destiny. Lao Tzu, Buddha, Emerson, they all said the same thing, some version of the other. So what does it mean? The Bible says, as you think, you become. In the book of Proverbs, 23rd verse in the 4th chapter. As you think, you become. Ratnamala thought of this, and she became. It came through for her, and her thoughts and her imagination became true, and she was able to breastfeed Bhagavan, because Bhagavad Mahapuran tells us there are 3 forms of God available to us. I don't want to do the quote and everything right now, but one is Brahm, that pervades the entire universe. The second one is Bhagavan, Ram, Krishna, Shiva, Lakshmi, etc. And the third is what? Paramatma. Who's Paramatma? The form of God that sits in the heart. What does he do there? He takes a note of all our what? Our actions? Nahi bhaiya. He takes a note of all our thoughts. It is our thoughts that create our karma. Remember Bhagavad Gita? Mayeva man adatsa mayi buddhim nivesha. Bhagavan says, give the mind and the intellect to me. In that way, you would only think positive things. And the mind will not go astray. The intellect would not try to analyze and end up doing the wrong thing. That if you give the mind to me, you will live in me. So this is why it is said, what you think you become. Ratnamala, she thought of that and she got it. So as Hindus, as devotees of God, we must know that when we want to worship, worship should come from the mind first. And if we want to do it externally, we're free to do so. But limiting ourselves to external worship has caused all kinds of problems in our lives because we're too busy. No one worships before they go to work because they're too busy, have taken care of the house and the children in the morning. We come home, same thing. On the weekends, you have laundry, you have all this kind of work to do. There's so many things to do on the weekends. You promise to pray Sunday morning, and then you're so tired you can't get up, and then you wake up late and there's a bunch of domestic chores waiting, so you're not worshiping. We're falling short of our duties. We're not worshiping because we have limited worship to a physical thing. Nowhere in the scripture does it say that worship has to only be physical. As a matter of fact, it is strewn all over the scriptures. In every scripture it is declared unanimously that the most powerful form of worship is worship with the mind. Here again in this Katha, it tells us how powerful a worship from the mind is. Just a thought from the mind, Bhagavan registers it and he fulfills it. There's nothing wrong with worshiping physically with the hands and the ears and all of that. But if we do so, the mind has to also be applied. When you're doing arti, you can't think about what you need to cook today, or what time you're going to go to work tomorrow. When you're doing arti, you have to think of Bhagavan. That is worshipping with the mind. Or you can just do it to the mind alone. So my dear friends, this is a beautiful katha that happened on Chhati, on the 6th day of the birth of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So we wanted to bring this as a part of our celebration today, so that we can all know the significance of Chhati. In Bhagavan Sri Krishna's case, it was a little bit different. This is what happened on the 6th day. He killed the demon Putana. And let us ask of Bhagavan to, through his grace and his blessings, to kill all those demons, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahamkar. You know, in our prayer we say, Lakshmi Karod Kalyanam Arogyam Sukha Sampadam Mama Shatrum Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir. Mama Shatrum means our internal enemies. Let us ask of Bhagavan to kill those internal enemies and bless us so that we can worship. Our mind can be clear, we can have clarity of mind, and our mind can be fixed on Him while we live in this world. I thank all of you for joining us, but before we close with our meditation, let's join in the Jhulan Leela. Remember, today is also a day for celebration, right? So we have our Jhulan. We'll be putting the Jhulan on the screen, and we'll be singing a Jhulan bhajan. So I don't know if you'll have the copy. If you do, you can sing along. Or we'll be playing the video where we're doing the rocking of Bhagavan. This is how we're celebrating Chhati. We're rocking Sri Krishna in our mind. We group our voices together as we worship Him. So prepare the mind, or have your little Jhulan if you have one at home. Just bring it with you and you'll rock it while you're doing the bhajan. So we'll give you a few minutes to do that. So go get your little Jhulan and you'll do worship like that. We'll give you a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
Radha Krishna Foundation presents an international event. Friday, November 13th, 2020. Deepavali, Return of Light.
Bala Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai. So if you have your little Jhulan, you will rock Bhagavan. If not, then focus your mind on this Jhulan that we have. We're rocking Bhagavan. Today is the 6th day. after the celebration, you light a diya in your mind for Bhagavan, you put mala on him in your mind, and rock him to your heart's content while we sing together. Aaye Badra, aaye Badra, Radhe Jhulan padharo jhuki aaye Badra, Radhe Jhulan padharo jhuke aaye Badra, aaye Badra, aaye Badra, aaye Badra, aaye Badra, Radhe Jhulan padharo pyare Jhulan padharo jhuke aaye Badra, Radhe Jhulan padharo jhuke aaye Badra. साजो सकल श्रृंगार नैना सारो कजरा, साजो सकल श्रृंगार नैना सारो कजरा, ऐसो मानन की जय हत तजे अली, ऐसो मानन की जय तज तजे अली, ऐसो मानन की जय हत तजे अली, राधे झूलन पधारो प्यारो, झूलन पधारो कुमारी, झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, आए बदरा झुके आए बदरा, आए बदरा झुके आए बदरा, राधे झूलन पधारो, राधे झूलन पधारो, प्यारे झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, तेरो रसिक प्रीतम मग जोवत करो, तेरो रसिक प्रीतम मग जोवत करो, राधे झूलन पधारो, प्यारे झूलन पधारो, राधे झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, आए बदरा झुके आए बदरा, आए बदरा झुके आए बदरा, राधे झूलन पधारो, प्यारे झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, राधे दो कर जोरे तोरे चरण परो, राधो दो कर जोरे तेरे चरण परो, राधे झूलन पधारो प्यारी, झूलन पधारो कुमारी, झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, राधे झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, आए बदरा झुके आए बदरा, आए बदरा झुके आए बदरा, राधे झूलन पधारो कुमारी, झूलन पधारो प्यारी, झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, राधे झूलन पधारो झुके आए बदरा, झुके आए बदरा, झुके आए बदरा। बाल कृष्ण भगवान की जय। This is how Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba rocked their little baby. So I hope that that would have brought some sort of increased spirituality to your hearts. And if it does, try to keep it there. For us to keep it there, what we want to do is practice a little bit more. We'll start our little practice for 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes. Let's close our eyes. Let's sit straight. Let's sit straight with our eyes closed. with our necks and back straight. And we'll do a small little mental puja, small little meditation. Try to take some deep breaths in. Breathe in. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. Relax the body. Try to keep the feet on the ground if you're sitting on a chair. Put the arms and the thighs facing upwards. And imagine, with your eyes closed, that you're going to the house of little Sri Krishna. You know, the house is still there in Gokul. So imagine that you're going to Krishna's house. He was just born, he's a little baby, big enough to play. And you're coming through the door. And because you're a friend of Krishna's, you have all the privileges in the world. So you walk straight into his bedroom. He's a little baby. He's sleeping on his very small bed. You look at him, he has curly hair. And on his hair is a peacock feather stuck into his head. He has really chubby cheeks. His mother Yashoda and father Nanda Baba love him more than anything else in the world. Mother Jasoda comes into the room and she's happily gazing at her little beautiful son. You're right there, you're watching all of this. Kanhaiya is sleeping, you can see him. And she says, Kanhaiya, wake up. Wake up, my Kanha. But Krishna is not listening, he's enjoying his sleep. Baby Krishna, with his sleeping eyes, his eyes closed, he's looking so cute, the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Yashoda Maya tries to wake him, he's not listening. He doesn't want to wake up. Like every little child, you wake them up and they don't want to wake up. So Jasoda Maya now, very gently she went and she sat next to Kanhaiya on his little bed. He's still not waking up. Kanha, wake up. Now Jasoda Maya, she has work to do. So she's got to wake him up. So she puts her hands under his armpits and pick him up like you pick up a little baby and put him to sit down. Kanhaiya is still not waking up. Jasoda Maya is holding him to balance him so he doesn't fall. And still Kanhaiya is not waking up. And she continues calling out, Kanhaiya, hey Kanwa, hey Lalla, wake up beta. Kanhaiya doesn't want to wake up. I have a lot of chores to do, a lot of work to do, please wake up. Kanhaiya is hearing all of this. And he responded like, every other little baby responds. Some kind of gibberish they say to the mother, something like that. Kanhaiya responds to Yashoda Maya, I don't want to wake up. Because his eyes are filled with sleep and his eyes look so much like a lotus flower, so beautiful. But he's forced to sit up. He's now yawning and he's stretching. But his eyes are still closed even though he's yawning and stretching. And he's hoping that Yashoda Maya will just give up and go away so that he can continue sleeping. A few minutes went by and Krishna still did not get up. So finally, after Yashoda Maya did not let up, she finally lifted him up and put him to stand up with his eyes closed. Kanhaiya is now standing, Yashoda Maya is holding him. So now Kanhaiya knows there is no way out of this, I have to wake up. So he opens his cute little eyes. But then he closes them really quickly again. He's hoping that no one saw him open his eyes. He tries to sleep again. He's almost falling asleep, but he's also almost falling down. But when he almost fell down, he opened his eyes again. He's open, closing, until he recognizes that you're standing there. Kanhaiya sees you like any other little child. He sees a friend, it's time to go play. And now he doesn't want to sleep anymore all of a sudden. Kanhaiya sees you, you walk up to him, you give him a beautiful kiss on both sides of his chubby cheek. And because he's seen you, now he's filled with energy. Yashoda Maya is making his breakfast, but Kanhaiya wants him. Suprabhatam Kanhaiya, good morning my friend. And he's replying to you, oh, very good morning to you. And you both hug each other tightly and affectionately because you love each other so much. Kanhaiya is smiling, you're smiling. You played for a little bit. You wanted to witness Yashoda Maya waking up Kanhaiya. Now it's time for you to leave. You enjoyed watching Yashoda Maya waking up baby Krishna, and while Kanhaiya is ready to play, you have to leave because Kanhaiya has to go and eat his breakfast. You say bye to Kanhaiya and you told him I'll come again and visit you very soon. Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai.
Radha Krishna Foundation presents an international event. Friday, November 13th, 2020. Deepavali, Return of Light.
Akshutam Keshavam Ramana Vasudevam Harim Sridharam Madhava Gopika Vallabham Janaki Nayakam. संगस्या पति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम प्रभु उमापति महादेव की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय सियावर रामचंद्र की जय शरणम प्रभु सब संतन की जय जय सीताराम। जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे। रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की जय। Please excuse us there. I didn't realize, but the battery in my mic went dead, so you couldn't hear me for a little bit. But again, thank you to all of you who've joined us. I hope you've learned something from today's katha, or at least be reminded of the importance of the mind and reminded of Chhati and Bhagāwat. Let's celebrate. Let's keep little Kandha in our mind as we worship him. I want to thank all the Pandits and the teachers of Sanatan Dharma who have joined us today. My dad who's my chacha from England, Pandit Satyacharan Sharma, is with us. Again, I also heard that my other chacha, Pandit Somnath Sharma from Wales, has been joining us as well. So Chach, thank you for joining us. Also my chacha Vyas Sharma ji, and also Dad here has joined us again today, Pandit Chandraban Hardwar, my mamu Pandit Hari Prasad, so many other Pandits from Guyana has joined us, my brother Pandit Tulsi Prasad, Pandit Amit, all the young Pandits from the foundation. My brother Sri Madanji has also joined us, Madan Jagdevji, to my chachi, Srimati Indrani Sharma, all the Pandits, all the learned ones and the teachers of Sanatan Dharma. I give my reverence to you, and I hope and pray that you have the strength and the courage and inspiration to continue doing your job, especially in this time of lockdown where people are scared. Please do spread the message of the scriptures so that people can feel reassured. I do have, I think my friend Pandit Nishal Mizir is also online with us. So Panditji, again, welcome and thank you for joining us. There's one announcement I want to make before we go, a little bit, it's unrelated to our katha, but on a sad note, the grandmother of one of the board members of Lakshmi Mandir has left the human body, has passed away, and this is the grandmother of our brother Vinod. We call him Vinny, Vinny Morgan. This is also the mother of Auntie Sirani. Her name is Lakraji Surdas, and she lived in New York. Most of you know that she lived for a long, long time in West Palm Beach. She moved to New York and she has passed away. So I give a special prayers and our thoughts to Auntie Sirani and to all the children, Ravi and Vinny and all the other children and grandchildren. I cannot, to Auntie Mayo and the other cousin, sister that's also there, to all the children, Das Bhaiya, to everyone. I know so many of the children, to all of you. I extend our sympathy on behalf of all of us, and I hope and pray that Bhagavan will bless you with strength, and let us pray for the Atma of Grama so that it can have safe travels to its next destination. I don't have access to the harmonium because I'm holding the mic, as you can see, but let's group our voices together as we chant a prayer, not only for the departed soul, but for the surviving relatives, so Bhagavan can bless them with understanding and inspiration. Atma tvam girjamati sahachara pranah shariram griham pujate vishayoprabhogarachana nidra samadrishtati sanchada padayo pradakshana vidhi stotrani sarvagiro yadayat karma karomi tatadakilam shambho tava radhanam Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The arrangements for the funeral and other things will be posted publicly so that those who want to know more will be able to have that information. Also, with us today is my dear brother, Dr. Lakshman Hardwar. I saw him coming on. Dr. Ji, thanks again for joining us. To all of you, I hope and pray that Bhagwan, the spirit, the happiness, the joy, the enthusiasm of Chhati, of Bhagwan being born, coming into this world to destroy yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyatanam dharmasya tadatmanam trijanyam paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskritam dhamma sansthapanatharya sambhavami yuge yuge. This is what Bhagwan Sri Krishna says in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita 7-8. Whenever there's a decline of dharma, I will take a form. In Ramayana, Bhagwan says the same thing. Vipradenu surasantahita lina manujavatar nija iksha niramitatanu maya gunagopar. Whenever there's a decline of dharma, I will come forth, assuming a body that I think is best, that fits the situation best, and I will destroy evil and re-establish dharma. This is what Bhagwan says in all our scriptures. So let Bhagwan take an incarnation, a descension into our hearts and our activities. And if we do that, our lives will be blissful, would be enjoyable, and would be one that would make us close to Bhagwan. One more announcement, please. Our Swamiji, Bhagwan Shankar from DJJS organization, also passed. Cremation is going on presently. So this is a Swamiji by the name of Bhagwan Shankar from the organization DJJS. He's also passed, so he has Bhagwan, a Swamiji who would have spent his life serving and teaching Sanatan Dharma, and usually a Swami's life is a yajna. Not anything he does, even his very life is a yajna. So those souls have created a path to Bhagwan by their actions. But we thank him for his service, and we pray that Bhagwan will bless his jiva with a place with him. To all of you, stay safe, be diligent, and remember your bhakti. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai.
Radha Krishna Foundation presents an international event. Friday, November 13th, 2020. Deepavali, Return of Light. This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida. Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana. Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom. And Shiva Mandir Ashram of Legwan Island, Guyana.